I don't know how it started, I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up, really flip my lid. Come here, eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Well, what are you gonna do with this eager beaver, baby of mine? Ooh, I'm all there beside you, no matter where you stop. I'll follow you.
Welcome to Was That an Orgy? Woo! A sex-positive space to discuss romantic and sexual relationships in all of its various styles. Personal issues such as gender and identity. And of course, we will talk about kink, orgies, safety, and all of the juicy bits in between. I'm Shar, and I am not a guru, nor am I a sex master, nor a sex guru master, but I am a sex positive person, and I have a bit of experience, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm willing to try just about anything. I'm like Mikey. I'm like, oh, give that to Shar. She'll try it.
She likes it. She's smart. And I'm Teresa. I am her inbred sister from another mister. No, same mister, actually.
Yeah.
And I just let out the family secret.
Oh my God. I'm so embarrassed.
I am perpetually sleep deprived and do this mostly for the entertainment. But that said, I've always been interested in psychology. I thought of it for a career for a while. And so I've been junking on all of this human psychology for a long time. I find it fascinating. And so, like, you know, I'm hands on the books and she's glands on the glands. And so we kind of balance each other out. And so it's fascinating for both of us to hear the different aspects of, you know, the personal experience and the, you know, psychological information. And so we should probably make the disclaimer that anything we do or say here is just our own dumbass opinions and the opinions of other people who we have on the show.
Also, this show talks about sex a lot. I'm sure you're shocked. By that.
God. That's quite a microphone.
So remember to keep sensitive ears away from this podcast.
From the
Put in your
dictaphone.
earbuds or go into another room.
Yeah.
So in this first episode, we're really going to talk about my journey into sex positivity. And I could say that it started 4 years ago, but I think it started a long time before that.
Long time ago. Started with a mom who raised us just with books about sexuality and taught us to, you know, be comfortable with our own bodies and our sexuality. And books about puberty.
We never got in trouble for drawing Ziggy Nasties or any other, but like I was just constantly drawing penises on everything, and I never got in trouble for that. I think I actually probably drew one on the garage floor at some point. I think I did get in trouble for that one. That was like one of the few times when I did something and I was like, oh yeah, I actually should be in trouble for this. Why did I do that?
That's great.
But for me, sexuality really started as sex positive. It was very much that I had a group of friends and we did fun things together, and we said, you know, I would have a party and I'd be like, so, would you and you like to go in there with me?
In the
and
closet?
we make kiss? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you guys were doing things that, again, the whole question of the show is, was that an orgy? What is an orgy?
Yeah.
And you guys got some orgiastic shiznit going on pretty early, as far as I remember, you know?
Yeah.
And we grew up in a lower economic area, so I'd say that you guys were probably the bottom feeders feeding on bottom.
Oh, let me slap the giant dong for that one.
How dare you?
Bad
We
dong.
resemble that remark.
I'm not a bottom feeder.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Actually,
Maybe a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a
Just a tiny
skosh.
bit. Yeah.
But bum.
Yes.
I had to say it.
We do that. So I'll just kind of start. I'm going to get into the story of how I got to where I am right now. Not starting at the very beginning, but just in this most recent part of the journey. So it was about 4 years ago, and my partner at the time, we entered sex positivity as swingers, which I think happens with a lot of couples as they're trying to transition from monogamy into polyamory, open relationships, swinging, anything like that.
Yeah, and sometimes I think people are entering into that to try to save the relationship, and sometimes they're entering into that to just try to find a way out.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes, yeah, it's like, oh, what's out there? I don't know. I'm scared.
Right.
And maybe this is a safe way to find out. So
Yeah.
we had been together for a number of years, and as often happens in relationships, someone developed a crush on a barista at our local market. And, it doesn't always have to be a barista, but it's usually someone pretty harmless like that. You get a little crush. And during our date night, he, oops, I outed him, said, so, you've been in relationships with women before. So what do you think about so-and-so? Would you ever want to have a three-way with her? And I was like, duh. She's only gorgeous and amazing and obviously very smart and hot and all the things. However, she's totally not into us. Like, she's in a monogamous relationship. She's giving really awesome customer service, but she's not giving me the super flirty, hey, I'm bisexual and want to come and join your relationship as a unicorn sort of thing.
Right. Right.
But he kind of he opened the door and I kicked it open. It was like it was like he planted the beanstalk. He had the beans, he threw them into the earth, and then the beanstalk started growing. And then it was almost more like Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. Next thing you know, my pussy's like, feed me Seymour.
Feed me semen.
Yeah. Oh my God. Feed me semen. So as soon as he went to the bathroom, I started looking at sex clubs. I was, I was super curious, excited by the idea, and of course, I love to experiment. I love to treat life like it's an experiment, and hopefully no one gets hurt.
And I just want to jump in and say too, what's amazing about Shar is that she's always been like this. Like I was saying, when I was in junior high, I looked up to you so much for so many reasons, but like this element of you was just so exciting to me. Like I really thought that I was going to, I aspired to be just like you, and it still hasn't happened. But this has always been a strength of yours, is this kind of, extroverted tendency. Mom said she even remembers this about you from, when you were really little, like kindergarten. Yeah. Teachers would comment about how friendly and open you were. Open.
Which is so... I'm like reaching up their skirts. Hi. Oh God, I hope not. Yeah. So continuing the story, a few weeks later, I finally convinced him to go to a club with me. And in Portland, we have several sexy clubs you can go to, and they all have a different vibe. So the first one we went to was Sanctuary, and it was kind of like coaxing a baby into their first drunken steps. I was like, come, let's go have fun. And it was really amazing. We walk in the front door. He's terrified. I'm slightly terrified, but mostly excited. And there's this person at the front desk showed us around, and she was like, oh, and to walk in there is just amazing for the first time if you've never been to a sex club. You walk in, the lighting is pretty much perfect. It's black lights, it's low lights, the music is loud and driving, there's porn on the cameras.
I just have to ask really quick, where is this? Because I think I might have walked in there once.
Oh,
yeah.
It's at 9th and I want to say, is
right
it
off Powell?
Cooch or Division?
Burnside. Like right off Burnside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Northwest Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's on the second floor. So you just walk up the stairs. It's totally unassuming looking place. And it was just such a great experience. Like we walked in, it was such a cool environment. And then this person showed us around and she was like, oh, and this room is the one where there's 2 king size beds and you can have this kind of fun here.
I just want to jump in and ask questions because
Yeah.
I want to get a visual.
Oh, do it.
So like the room with the 2 king size beds, was
Yeah.
it a private room with like a solid door, or is it like viewing room?
That
Or-
would be a room for the more extroverted person for sure, because there are curtains you can draw, but I think part of the allure of being there is that you mostly leave those curtains open.
Right.
Then there's one smaller room that has 2 single beds in it, and that one has like a mosquito net. So it's always somewhat private.
Gotcha.
People know that they can't pull the mosquito net back.
It's just like a cheesecloth screen.
Totally filtering out all the cheese.
Yes, all the wrinkles and butt sits.
So yeah, you look great when you're in that room, right?
Right.
And then the third room had a little bit more of a like BDSM vibe, a little kinky vibe. It has the St. Andrew's cross, the spanking bench.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, the St. Andrew's cross is the big wood X, and it has a couple of eyelets on it so that you can put handcuffs on.
Gotcha.
And then, be standing and you could receive a light flogging.
like
or...
restraining arms and legs open.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
a big X.
Yep, exactly.
Like a big X
Like a big
rated.
X.
Yeah,
like a big
exactly.
X-rated X. So we went, so those are the 3 rooms there. And then, of course, there's the main room where there's talking, flirting, leather couches, these big booths and everything. And there were just such friendly people there and a really fun vibe and sexy vibe. And at some point, and it's very LGBTQIA plus friendly, like they say, as soon as you walk in, they're like, this is a sex positive space. Do you agree to that? And you have to sign something. Like, you cannot be a hater and go in there.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Do they explain what that means too? Like when you enter sex
They
positivity?
do, yeah.
Good.
They're so good with their communication there.
Good.
I still, this sanctuary has such a warm place in my heart.
Yeah.
I love them.
It's your sanctuary.
It is my sanctuary. Yeah, so we went in there. We were together, of course. We didn't know anybody. And we just start talking to people and flirting, and it was really fun. And we met this other couple, and, we're talking to them and kind of kissing a little bit and everything. And finally I was
Other
looking...
people or each other?
Other people. We kissed other people for the first time in our relationship. Ooh, so amazing. And I looked around at one point and I was like, this is not sexy enough. I need to up the sexy vibe. So I just pull my shirt open and let my tits hang out. Whoa. And at that point, I'm like, and I'm going to go get some water.
Yeah.
And then I felt, it was probably just internal for me. My mood changed where I was like, this is exciting. Mm-hmm. This is strange and new and exciting. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I'm like talking to all sorts of people as as I walk by a table, they're like, hey, hi, nice tits. I'm like, thanks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just felt so confident and flirtatious, and it was just such a body positive place to be, where this, you go through life and you see so much media where everyone has to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And this wasn't the case there.
Right.
I walked in and I was like, hey, you know what? What I got is good. It's at least good enough.
Yeah.
And I just let it hang out and felt nothing but approval and acceptance for that.
Yeah. Way to take a risk.
Yeah, it was really,
Yeah.
it was fun and exciting, and I was probably a little drunk, so that's cool.
That liquid ego
That
always helps a little.
That did help that night. And that night we actually didn't do anything other than a little kissing with other couples because, we felt like that was probably a good place to stop. And one of the things that I've learned since then is that it's always good to leave wanting more
Right.
than to leave regretting going a little too far.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And I learned that by doing the wrong thing many times.
Right. Right.
So good at that.
Yeah.
Then the next time we went to a more classic kind of a swingers club in Portland, and it was a totally different environment. This place is like 3 floors. It's huge. There's a cage on the dance floor. The main
Are you
floor.
allowed to mention names? I'm not sure. You know how that goes.
I think so. I mean, this was
We'll
Pravada,
find
so
out.
anyone who's been there would know
Yeah.
which place I'm talking about because there
Yeah.
are only a few in town.
Yeah, but most of us don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
So this was Pravada. It's more like it's known as being more of a swingers sort of club. And we start talking to a couple, and I think, in hindsight, I'm looking at it and I'm like, they probably saw us walk in the door and they're like, fresh meat, because we look like starry-eyed like teens walking into
Right.
the room. We didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
We probably had our, jaws agape like,
And they wanted to be the first to tenderize and marinate you.
Totally. And they were this couple from the other side of the country and tan and fit, and they kind of looked like retired porn stars. And they saw us and they were like, "Hey, come have a drink with us." We have a few drinks with them. At some point, I probably was aware that they might be political conservatives. Oops, I did that.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm a horrible person.
Well, it's a good thing you don't have a visible boner that could. So.
Exactly. But I am amazed at how much we didn't know at the time, and how easy it is to just get really, really excited when you've been in a monogamous relationship and you've been feeling like you want more, to just go too far too fast. Mm-hmm. And I think I was like a horse at the starting gate of a race. A whore at the starting gate of a race. And I was just look at how this looks in the picture. I was just so excited that when the doors opened, I clumsily just sprinted forward, and now I think I've learned a little better. But I think that really shows on people when you're first opening up. That enthusiasm, it's like unbridled enthusiasm, but you don't have all the knowledge and self-control that you really need to navigate things well.
Yeah, the grace and the etiquette.
Yes, I had zero.
Right.
Nothing of that, because as we established earlier, I did no reading about this prior to doing it other than Googling sex clubs.
Right.
That's all the reading I did.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what I was doing. So this older tan couple from the East Coast, probably been doing this for years. They ask us if we want to go up to the big beds on the top floor. And there are 2 king-size beds in the same room. There's no curtain on the door. It's just an open doorway. People can come watch you, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, awesome. I'm having my big porn star moment, and I'm having fun with the husband. And my partner's on the next bed with the wife. And I don't realize what's going on over there. I'm just having fun. I'm like, yay, this is great. I'm feeling so sexy. I'm having all this great time. People are watching us in the doorway. People are asking if they can join us. We're like, oh, no. We're new.
One dick at a time.
Yeah.
Come on.
One dick at a time, people. Meanwhile, he's having a totally different experience. The wife I don't think she was interested in sex at all. I think what she wanted was someone to take care of her husband for the night. Like,
gotcha.
She was outsourcing the job, essentially.
Yeah.
And I was the worker there to do the job for the night.
She might have been the trophy wife that was like, I'm really not interested.
So she did the weirdest thing. She had the most beautifully manicured lady parts I'd ever seen. Like, I live in Portland. Mm-hmm. It's not always been like a big deal to do excess manicuring. So I see her and I'm like, wow, it looks like she hand tweezed the whole
Could have.
area. It was like perfection. And I was like, okay, wow, that's neato. And she would lay on her back and present it like this amazing sea anemone. And then he would go in to try and touch her. And then she'd do this thing that I later called the bucking bronco, where she'd like kick and spin around and move away from him. So what was going on in their bed was she'd present it.
Yeah.
He'd go in.
Yeah.
She'd move away.
Yeah.
over and over again. So basically, she wasn't giving any direction. She wasn't giving any feedback. She was just kind of like showing, moving, showing, moving, showing.
And he
moving.
was such a novice. He didn't know how to like confront the situation.
Oh
and
my
communicate.
gosh.
So,
Yeah, because
Right.
now I think either one of us, if presented with that situation, would say,
the
it
fuck are
seems
you
like
doing?"
you're not really interested in what's going on here. What is it that
Yeah.
you would like? Or is there anything you'd like? Or do you just want to watch what's
Yeah,
happening?
right.
But yeah, at the time we didn't know anything. So afterwards, he was really upset.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was fun. And I
Right.
didn't understand why that was happening. Like, we realized later that maybe we were tricked into sort of a honeypot situation where she was a lure and he was really the one that wanted to have an engagement. And
Yeah.
she was just there to be pretty eye candy. And,
Yeah.
she was like the sea anemone to attract the clownfish, and I
Right.
was the other fish that got eaten, whatever. But that was kind of the first big lesson that I learned, to stay connected with my partner, and at least enough to tell when they're miserable.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of the baseline, is if your partner's miserable, you should at least be able to tell that much. So first,
Did you guys after that like agree to have like a touch point or like even a hand signal or some kind of body language to be like, Flag, help me,
yeah.
I'm in hell?
Yeah. We kind of tried that sort of thing where it's like, okay, let's have a code word. Let's have a, sort of tap on the arm or something like that,
Right.
so that we can tell. We can do a check-in without being super obvious. Like, hey, honey, how's it going over there? How's that treating you?
Right.
So yeah, we did try that.
What was it? I'm just curious too. Details.
It was like a hand tap. It was
okay.
an arm tap or something like that.
Gotcha.
But then it was also me needing to be aware of the fact that I need to be aware of just knowing that I need to check in,
Yeah,
knowing that
right.
I can't become so focused, because that's what I usually do is
Right.
I go into the moment and I am absolutely there.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And I think the other sort of thing that we learned was that I think he wasn't as into this couple as I was.
Yeah.
And we also learned that you can't sort of do a quid pro quo, like, oh, I'll eat this taco if you choke down that bratwurst. Like you can't, that sort of thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to want to be there. Everyone needs to be excited about it.
And you got to be present with the person you're with, and everyone's like on a different level. You have to find a place that you can meet with
Yeah.
the other person.
Yep.
So you can't go into something even like with just your own desires and expect that that's going to happen. You have to be present.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been so guilty of that so many times. And I swear, I think I finally learned that lesson, which is why I don't push for a lot of stuff. But, I tend to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
So how would this be for you? And and I think my very first time doing that was when I was dating a woman and I was dating a man separately. And the woman really only liked being with other women. And
Is this the high school relationship?
it was after high school.
Okay.
But yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
totally.
that's after high school. Okay. So.
And I thought, oh, she's awesome. He's awesome. Of course they're going to like each other. So I arranged this whole three-way with them.
And she was a lesbian and he was a warlock.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I remember this. You're going to talk
Yes.
about the sphere, right?
Totally.
Okay.
No, I wasn't going to, but I guess I will now.
You have to.
You outed me. So I say, oh, you two, my lovers, I must have you at the same time. And she was obviously reluctant for very good reason. She was not interested in him being there. Mm-hmm. I ignored that because I just thought this is the best idea ever.
Right.
Of course, I think it's a good idea. So everyone must think it's a good
And
idea.
you were probably 18.
Yeah, I was like 18 or 19, something like that.
Yeah.
And so we have this most awkward three-way where she doesn't want to touch him She wants to touch me. He wants to touch both of us. And at some point, someone cracked an egg on my back. That's all I can say. It was weird. I was like, what sort of weird magic is this you're doing on me? And like, why is there egg on my back?
A real egg.
A chicken egg.
Oh my God, I thought that was your term for like busting a nut.
No,
Someone
for real.
cracked a real chicken ovum.
I seriously think he was trying to do some magic on me or her. Maybe the egg was meant for her to make her desire him. And it missed her and went on my back. And I was like, ew, what is this snotty thing on my back? Yeah.
Cold too, probably.
It was totally cold. Yeah. So that was the first time I learned that lesson of don't force things to happen. Just because you think it's a good idea right now doesn't mean it's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
And then this decades later.
No, you have to tell about the sphere now.
Oh my God. So this person,
The warlock.
he was he had this beautiful crystal and he wanted to put it in me for some healing purposes. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Yeah, healing purposes.
Quotes, yeah.
Not that there was anything wroong with me. I was fine. I was like, yeah,
Your
sure.
19-year-old cooter was just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was pristine.
Pre-childbirth.
Better than fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to put this in me, and I was like, sure, you only live once. Again, we're back to Mikey.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, let's try it.
I like it.
Little did I realize that as soon as someone puts a sphere inside your vagina, your opening closes up. And that sucked it further and further up into me. And I started having a panic attack. I have such a beautiful relationship with anxiety. We're like BFFs. I'm this one. Yeah.
You're the bottom.
Yeah, I'm the bottom with anxiety.
case,
Sometimes I get to top with anxiety, but who knows? So I'm like, oh my God, it's stuck inside me. Oh God. And he's like, well, just relax. I'm like, I can't relax. They put this crystal inside me. And it was like probably, I don't know, 2.5-inch diameter or something like that. Fairly big.
Yeah.
At least that's how it is in my mind. It's a huge crystal.
How long was it stuck there again?
I mean, it was probably realistically only 5 or 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity.
Oh, I remember it different. You did like jumping jacks, and anyway.
I did jumping jacks. I was trying to push like I was birthing a baby.
Yeah.
I was trying everything I knew, but unfortunately, when you're stressed, you contract.
Clench,
Yeah, and so
right.
I was clenching, which just kept pushing it up. Eventually, we did get that out.
All right, thanks for
Anyway.
going into detail. I just
Yes.
thought everyone should know.
Yeah, we did a little detour there, a little tangent. So back to this, how I got into sex positivity and how I found my way to where I am now. My partner and I tried swinging a few more times, and sometimes we had less disastrous outcomes, and sometimes it was super disastrous again, just like that last story I told. And we wound up in couples counseling, and we were trying to reconcile this chasm that lied between what our experiences were, where I just couldn't understand how we could be in the same room with the same people, and I would be having so much fun, and he would be miserable. He would just be hating it, like every cell of his body just wanted to run out the door.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, this is hooray for my sexual liberation.
Yeah. Well, this could be even a subject for future episodes, but I imagine it's really different being a unicorn, being the woman who is willing to have sex with other women and men and being in a room. Like, I think already the odds are stacked against, men who are interested in women,
Yeah. Yeah, I would say being pansexual or bisexual. Sorry, I keep seeing the photo of the dick.
Go on, Shark. What are you trying to say?
Being
Just
pansexual or
focus.
bisexual, I think definitely makes you more of a switch hitter in the game, and so you wind up playing more. You wind up being you wind up being called
Everyone
on
wants
more.
to ride the unicorn, honey.
Yeah, everyone
I
wants.
mean, when the carousel's going around, what do you want to get on?
I run for the unicorn. It's
Hello,
true.
don't we
It's true.
all?
Sometimes the
Unicorn.
weird rabbit thing, though. Sometimes
Yeah,
that one's
yeah.
good
Well,
too.
rabbits, they're
Hey.
very fertile. They're very horny.
They go fast.
You want to go fast. Exactly.
So we wound up seeing a counselor, and he is just amazing. He's a wonderful counselor, couples counselor, and he recommended that we look into SPP, which is Sex Positive Portland.
And at the end, get his permission and then post his name, if people are interested in that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
If people want to contact me about that, our email is wasthatAnorgy@gmail.com. That will probably change at some point. We'll keep them all live at the same time. Anyway, Sex Positive Portland, and that's a chapter of Sex Positive World. So he recommended that, and I was like, are you sure it's worth $29 a year? Oh,
pretty steep.
my gosh. I would have paid $29 a month. So we first went, I think, to an open house of SPP, and it was like, I felt like Charlie entering Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like,
Nice.
there were, poop
Yeah.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poop joke here with a chocolate factory. So we went to just like a little cuddle, and everyone was so friendly and sparkly and cute, and, like sexy Oompa Loompas. And no, we just had such a good time talking to people who had similar experiences. Like, they had made mistakes, they had found their way, and it was like we were able to talk to people in this really open way about sex and sexuality and what we wanted, what we would hope had happened versus what actually happened. And people would look at us with empathy and go, "Oh yeah, I did that. I'm sorry, that's a really hard one, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And we felt really accepted within that group. So basically, we got home and we signed up for every single class, everything
Wow.
possible. It was like, Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, everything they had. We just signed up for everything.
Wow.
So we obviously developed friendships with people, but then we also learned about consent, boundaries, pronouns, why they're important, kink, polyamory, sensation play, tantra, and ethical non-monogamy, and why and how and the ways in which that's different from polyamory, and how it's different from swinging. And we also found a language that helps you navigate some of those really complicated emotions that are involved with non-traditional relationships.
So important because it's
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah, because you're entering a land where it's no longer good, bad, right, wrong. Like, cheat, you're faithful or you cheat. You're now in the land where it's like, oh, did you honor our agreements? And that's a totally different thing. That feels much different.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot of how to communicate around those things.
I think that also on top of that, when you're kind of going against how we've been conditioned or even brainwashed to be in monogamous relationships, and especially like heteronormative relationships, that you're kind of going into a period of deconditioning and being open, and you have to be really in touch with your feelings and be open how you're feeling as you're exploring all this.
Yeah.
So it requires a whole new set of communication skills.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you really have to dig deep and say, why did this thing upset me? Is it a thing where I'm concerned that your interest in that person is going to take time away from me or resources or something like that?
Yeah, it's like what we were, talking about before about the difference between being envious or jealous,
Yeah.
I bet that comes up a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to just be open and self-reflective and honest and own your feelings and be able to
Yeah.
communicate that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I think is we're conditioned or brainwashed not to do, and we are. Sorry, I got distracted. My dog's in the room, so
Maybe I should grab her.
yeah. There you go. Oh, good girl. God, what was I even talking about? Squirrel. No, but anyway, yeah, you have to just kind of like constantly question that conditioning and find a new way to. I totally lost it. Bye, squirrel. Thanks for nothing. All right,
It's been nice.
Bye.
Those are my squirrel noises.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll just keep going on our
do it.
story,
Just
but
move along.
in the years since we joined SPP, it was clear that our interest in polyamory became more divergent, as well as just so many traditional relationship issues. If I look back on why we started it, it was probably because our relationship wasn't working the way that it was.
Right.
And that was like the last ditch effort. That was the Hail Mary.
Yep.
And we tried it. We were in therapy. We did all the things. And so eventually it came to a head at the beginning of COVID.
No pun intended. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think that happened to a lot of relationships. When COVID hit, I think people were really we were forced inside, literally. We were forced to sit with ourselves.
Yeah.
And we couldn't seek the sort of distraction that we had been seeking before.
Right.
So that's what happened to us. And the increased time together and kind of the external pressures of the existential crisis around
You were still
facing
in
the
that last
pandemic.
relationship in the beginning of COVID?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember that. Okay.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
Right,
That was
right.
it. It was the not being able to leave the house.
Yeah.
Because I have a 9-to-5 job. So I get out of the house 40 hours a week, and I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what broke me finally.
Yeah.
So yeah, it popped. And since then I've done, some kind of starting dating. I did a little OkCupid in the beginning, which was really interesting. Men and women have totally different experiences on OkCupid, and probably all the dating apps.
Yeah.
I think for men, it's like listening to a field of crickets. And for women, it's more like, hey, hi, hey, hi, 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 hi. And
Yeah.
occasionally someone will send you a very thoughtful message, and that stands out. Something that refers to something that you actually wrote on your profile. It's
Yeah.
always a good thing.
Right. I've heard a lot of men just swipe. Is it swiping right? That's how little I know.
Yeah.
But like they just swipe right on every woman just to improve their odds of
Oh,
getting
yeah.
liked back and getting a date.
Sure. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, I don't know how they do it. Like it seems like super discouraging.
Yeah.
Whereas, we get all the validation. It's like, hey, pretty lady, what's up? And we're all like,
Yeah.
oh.
Well, I think it goes down to the biology of humans too,
Yeah.
where it's like, men, the biology of them, not to say that this is all you are. I don't mean that. But like, the biological incentive is to spread your seed, and our biological incentive is to be discerning so that, you have good offspring and probably someone who can like provide and help take care of the young
Yeah.
instead of give you an inbred like half-wit that you
Yeah.
have to have
Yeah.
as a skin tag for the rest of your life, providing for on your own. So again, different biological incentives.
Here's my child. He's a skin tag.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Show us your skin tag.
Yeah.
Come
Shay.
on, Michael.
Come
Show
on.
us your skin
Come
tag.
on, boys.
Oh, I'm kidding. So I wound up being so excited about SPP that I eventually took a leadership position there. One of many leadership positions. I am not the leader. It is a very democratic group, which I think is wonderful. And I continue to have a lot of passion for that group and then for the community. I
Can you
love
say
the
what
community there.
what your title is? Because I can't
yeah.
even remember.
Oh yeah,
what
I'm
you
a
do
board
there.
member with SPP.
Yeah, but not very bored.
I'm
No,
not. It is
not at
not
all.
boring.
No.
Usually,
And what's your position? No pun intended.
missionary. Yeah. No, kidding. So a board member, basically we just have meetings pretty frequently, especially around COVID. We talk about policy, any issues that have been brought up with the members, events that we would like to spearhead, anything like the finances. We go through all that stuff.
Wow.
even a nonprofit organization has
Ah.
even a nonprofit organization has to talk about their finances, and it is not exciting. But because of my other 9 to 5 job, I do have some experience with it. So I was like, okay, I want to do this thing for the community that I love, and yeah, and it feels good.
Cool.
So since then, I've sort of fallen into sort of a solo poly style, although
But explain. I'm sort of familiar, but if you can just say quickly for those who don't know, what is solo poly?
solo poly. So poly is polyamorous, and solo means that I don't have like a nesting partner. Nesting partner would be someone that you live with, someone who takes priority. And actually, it's funny, when I wrote this, I was like, yeah, I'm solo poly. I actually have a couple partners now that have become increasingly important, and I'm still able to act with absolute sovereignty, but I do have really deep love for some of my partners, which is really wonderful. Yeah,
is
it's a wonderful thing to have and be able to experience, to be able to have that love for more than one person, and a really deep love. And I'm really excited to see how that continues.
Yeah.
Because right now the love is new, and so to see, well, what does this love look like years from now?
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be a lot of conversations around things, and different personalities and involved.
That's one of the things I'm most excited to hear you sharing about, because that's one of the things that I think most of us don't get insight into. Like, most people, haven't had experiences like this and don't choose to lead this lifestyle. And so to actually hear that it is possible, that it is like polyamory in the truest sense of the term, like poly, many, amory, amor, love, much love, and that you're actually having deep, loving connection, that it really is, it's authentic. It's not just, social deviance, like we're conditioned to think.
Right. Yeah, it is. Like the love that I feel is really, I mean, I would say in certain ways it's deeper than I've felt in the past, because I'm able to have such, I just come to it just as myself. And there are no additional requirements or expectations from them or from me. It's like, it isn't like, oh, you're my partner and you check 6 of the 8 boxes, but I need you to check these other 2.
It's not as conditional.
Yeah, it's not conditional, and I think that's one of the, and it might just be the way that I am feeling it, but that's how I feel about it, is that it really allows me to love people for the way that they, for the way that they come to the relationship, and not for what they could be, but for exactly who they are. And then if there are problems that arise during the relationship, you address those when they come, and you address those problems, but you're not saying, I need you to be someone that you're not.
Yeah, because you're not saying, I need you to meet all of my needs,
right,
like we do in monogamous relationships.
Right.
Which is, one of the main things that causes relationship burnout.
Oh my gosh, we got a cool question. Okay,
Oh
do
my
you
gosh.
feel that joining SPP before experimenting at Sex Positive and swingers clubs would have been a better path, and if so, why? Yes. I think that would have been learning to walk before I ran.
Yeah, right.
That would have given us language around what we were going through.
Right.
That would have given us the opportunity. So one of the great classes that SPP offers is agreements, boundaries and agreements, or at least that's one that I know that I took while I was there. I'm not sure if it's still offered at this moment. But that was such a great class, because it allows you to talk about your agreements with your partner, and you write them down, and they're very clear, they're measurable, and that allows you to go into situations and navigate these really complicated situations. And then boundaries are your personal boundaries. This is me walking into a room saying, I am not having this tonight. I am not going to have intercourse tonight. And you know that that is your personal boundary.
Right.
And I think having that under my belt at the very least would have been a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah.
Because that would have given us, and there's just so much language around things. The language of consent is so beautiful, of the way that you ask someone, like you ask someone before you hug them. You don't just walk up and start Frankensteining toward them like, oh, I need a hug. You actually say, oh, I'm so happy to see you. May I have a hug, or would you like a hug?
Yeah.
And that is the beginning of consent. And everything along the way kind of goes with that language.
Right,
You
yeah.
just continue with that.
So important going into those things to have those skills.
Yeah.
To take care of yourself and to respect other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you never know what someone else's experience has been up to that moment. Maybe they're afraid of, like, gigantic blonde women, and I'm walking up to them like Frankenstein, like, me like you.
Frankenpussy.
Ah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Frankenpussy. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that would have been a totally different experience. I don't know if the outcome would have been different. I think we were probably headed on the trajectory of decoupling anyway. But I think that the experience might have been more thoughtful and less hurtful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I know for sure that I would have felt less like I was walking around with gigantic clown shoes, stepping on everyone's toes the whole time.
Right. And it probably would have made you feel more comfortable, secure, and supported going into those initial circumstances. You know, like all you did is, kind of know how much you don't know, but knowing enough to be able to not fear that, your partner's you're going to trigger your partner and they're going to have a reaction, feel
Yeah.
abandoned, be mad later, knowing like, is this okay what I'm doing? Going into it with that, but then also knowing how to advocate for yourself and check in with other people.
Yeah.
And see what their needs and boundaries are. So you just
Yeah.
would have felt more secure all around.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a big part of that, being able to, having that sovereignty of knowing your own needs and your own boundaries, also there's a huge amount of accountability that comes with that. So you learn not to blame things on your partner. Or I learned eventually. Because I have absolute sovereignty now, I can't say, oh, my partner wouldn't like this if I did this. I
Yeah.
have to say what's really happening.
Right.
I don't want to do this because of this, that, and the other, or I feel uncomfortable with this, or offering an alternate solution. Can we do this instead? I'm comfortable with this.
Wow, that's so cool. I really imagine that on a lot of levels, this really affirms and helps to support your self-worth.
It does.
Because you have to advocate for yourself. There's no one else
Yeah.
there. And if you really want to do this, you have to learn to do that and speak your needs and boundaries and, in a loving, non-hostile manner.
Yeah.
Unless it's warranted.
Yeah, and once you learn the language of it, and I think it's probably really similar to nonviolent communication. I think once you learn the language of it, it gets a lot more natural. It's it just looks like it looks like you owning the things that you say, and it feels good. It feels like you're speaking from your heart and not from your wounds and not from your fears. You're
wow.
speaking, yeah.
That's
Chills.
good. That
Did you
was
get some
good.
chills?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
good.
Wow, that was total ad lib.
Yeah, I love
Here
it.
we go.
Quote.
So, so we have 11 minutes, and I made it through my story. So this is the part where we just get to jam
Yay.
on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I have to say, I'm going to go into my story next week.
Oh, yeah.
And
So exciting.
I did have one experience with SPP, and that's when you called me when SPP was having that big party at the Doug Fir.
Oh, my
and
God, that
you
was
said,
fun.
like, Teresa, would you come on down? And I happen to have a huge pussy costume. I made, never my backstory, but so you were like, can you want to come on down and join the party and wear your pussy costume? And I was like, I'll throw on Queen Laquifa for you. And so as I was driving down, though, I did start to have anxiety where I was like, okay, so like I'm showing up to this like sex positive Portland party. I have no idea. This isn't like, a comfort zone of mine. What am I getting my huge piss flaps into? And I was really impressed with the level of communication, like you were talking about. Everyone, of course, was like very enthusiastic to see, the 6-foot pussy walk into the party.
Good Lord, you were the belle of the ball.
I was like Mickey Mouse at Disneyland.
You were.
I said Disneyland too, not
Disneyland.
Disneyland, yeah, exactly. But I was really impressed with people's manners, ethical behavior, where essentially like people were even asking me to have their picture taken with me, and then people were like, is it okay if I just like, fist your vagina costume while I have my picture taken? I'd be like, sure, and then like one girl is like, can I lick your vagina costume in this picture? And I was like, sure.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah. She is awesome. She is really awesome. But yeah, people were so straightforward about their communication. And then like I remember at one point, like some guy I was talking to, he's like, just said like, I really want to kiss you right now. Can I kiss you right now? And I was like, sure.
Did your labes quiver at that moment?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was a quivering clam. And then like, something happened soon after that where someone asked for something. I can't remember. And I was just, like an uncomfortable junior high schooler, like, I don't know, thanks. And what they said back was so impressive. He said, okay, well, that's fantastic. Thank you for saying no and advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
Have a great night. And I was like, oh, wow. Because typically in our culture, we have a hard time saying no to people because we're so empathetically afraid of hurting someone else's feelings that we end up sometimes actually not advocating for our own needs because we're just so empathetically afraid of, wounding someone else.
Yeah.
And so it's just really affirming that he was supportive of me and said, thank you for, speaking up for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool. And then I was like, wait, I changed my mind. That was hot. Come back here. Not really. But
that's like something that's taught in the Awesome Boundaries class. And that is that you ask for something, and if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that's okay. And you just say, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because that feels really good to be able to say that. Yeah. And the more you get to say that, the more used to it you get. And you're just like, hey, I put myself out there and that's great. Thank you for taking care of yourself. Because it doesn't become this big, long, drawn out conversation. It's just like, would you like to make out? No, thanks. Thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And what feels really good about that is at the end of that, there's still a connection.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this, blow to the ego and, like war. Then you go your separate ways.
Yes.
But again, it really was. He became more attractive after I said no, because.
Take note, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it was nice to feel like we were all still kind of like, quote unquote, in love together. We were still in a space of love and connection.
Yeah.
And it was so positive.
Yeah.
Sex positive Portland.
I think that's a huge thing to bring up is that it's a space of connection. And even if you're not, engaging with someone in the way that's really intimate, there's still a connection. You're still in community with someone and you still care about them and they still care about you. And it's like we're all rooting for each other all the time.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that's really exciting to me, being on the periphery, is doing all of my, psychological sort of, reading that I do, that seeing how much the structure of monogamy can actually stifle the relationship and the love that you want by trying to get too many of the needs met by that relationship, and that is threatening as kind of like opening up or being polyamorous or beyond monogamy in some ways seems to people the very structure of monogamy can be the catalyst to lead to affairs, to lead to people breaking up if we're stuck with this model of just one relationship at a time. You can only have like one relationship with one person. And if we learn to be open to what's possible beyond that structure, we might be able to help to preserve the most important aspect of all these relationships, which is love and truth. And to see what lies beyond that. To me, it's a fascinating and worthwhile endeavor to be open to and explore. And that's part of what I'm interested in being a part of this project, and why I've studied so much about it for so long is there's a lot of fears that come up when you're coming up against your comfort zone, your safety zone, and everything that is you've been brainwashed to feel safe within, even if it is like destructive. It's the social norm. We fear going outside of the social norm for many reasons. You know, we fear the unknown. We fear repercussions. We fear condemnation, persecution. And yet, what's beyond the unknown oftentimes is just your liberation, your freedom, your learning, your growing. And that's really what makes us most happy, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm off my pedestal there. Yeah.
Your soapbox has crumbled.
We're daughters of preachers? What?
What?
Yeah.
I would never understand. I wouldn't have thought. Yeah. Well, you know, we put the penis in happiness.
Oh, boom, shaka. Boom. That's good.
Yeah.
Word.
It's important. I think what you learn most of all when you go into this, you know, this way of loving and just is ownership. You own your desires. You own your likes. You own your dislikes. Everything. You're in charge.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually scary sometimes, to be in charge and to really sit down and say, what do I really need right now? What do I really want? Why don't I want this thing? Why do I want this thing? And you have to ask yourself some really hard questions. What is the story that I'm telling myself about this person, or about what a relationship with this person would be like?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the scariest part is just like once you tear down, you know, the restrictions of, you know, monogamy and all that conditioning, then it's like, it's a, you know, a vast, endless, okay, thank you. Oh, squirrel. Anyway, you know, the unknown is vast, and leaning into that can seem really scary, but usually, like, I find that your liberation lies just beyond your fear.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. And that's where it's landing for me, is that my liberation, my sovereignty, I go to bed almost every night and I am so thankful for what I have and the amazing partners that I have, and, you know, of course, for my children and my family. And it just feels like I'm doing what is best for me. And I'm not saying that what I do is going to work for everyone, but this is what I've found works best for me, and it feels so good. And I think when you find that relationship style, you can go to bed every night and think, thank you, universe. This is amazing. Like,
Yoniverse.
What an awesome, thank you, Yoniverse. What an awesome life I have.
yeah.
So I think we are actually wrapping up.
Yeah, we are. We got the signal. Wrap it up, girls.
So we are going to be on every Tuesday from 5 to 6 Pacific time, because we are from Portland, Oregon, and we are on TopCast PDX.
We will have a website, you know, face crack site, all that stuff soon. We just, you know, kind of jumped in willy-nilly, tits first. And so now we're just figuring it out as we do. And we're just figuring it out as we go along. But it'll all be there one day. And then we'll say all the boring stuff. Like us on follow us. And don't forget to subscribe.
And always feel free to send an email to wasthatAnorgy@gmail.com. I see it's up on the screen.
Yay!
Let's see. Is there anything else we need to tell people?
I don't think so, except for it's been real fun, and I hope for all you commuters it kind of lightened up your drive.
Yeah. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. What are you calling
She's
me?
a real see you next Tuesday.
Just what are you saying? I can't believe it. No respect. No respect.
Stay happy and horny, everybody.
Yeah, do that.
I don't know how it started. I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up. Really flip my lid. Come here, eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby.